came here in 1900. He was 16 years old. He was a farmer here for 57 years. He had his own in Somerset. And by the time he was 40, he owned over 10 acres of arable land that he farmed himself. And he built over 7 houses from farming, all from farming. And my family still own most of these properties today. Caesar's Pharmacy is one. Right on the corner there with Mr. Chicken, my Aunt Burl, she's my aunt. She owns another one. Martha Carter's used to be right next to Caesar's Pharmacy. And then several houses all behind there. He built them. He had a little store right across from Charing Cross. And he was from St. Kitts, and he farmed all of the land behind the library, Springfield Gardens, Lopes Gardens. Royal Naval Field was a garden. Somerset Primary School was a garden, all the way to Long Bay. And so he and his 13 children grew. In those days, there were lots of kids. And, they all farmed. They all farmed. I grew up in a farm. My father he was more on the animal side. So we had every animal under the sun. We had chickens and cats and birds, and we had fish, and we even had a monkey. Yes, and we harvested all of these animals all through my entire life until I'm not entire because it's not over yet, but at least until I was 25, I guess, 24, 25 years old. We harvested animals. One of my favorite, and this is a quick story, but one of my favorite stories is when I was about 13 years old, I was going to Berkeley, and I had a cow. My father used to breed cows, and I don't know, it took to this little calf. And this little calf used to sleep at the foot of my bed. Oh. And her name was Betsy. I don't know where that came from, but her name was Betsy. And we used to keep her outside during the day. When she was little, she was always in the house. And my father always, get that cow out of this house until it got too big. Then I had to keep her outside. I remember at 13, maybe 14 years old, coming home from school one day. And my father's in the basement and the doors are closed. And I hear noise and I'm like, what's going on? But they wouldn't let me in. My father came to the door, gave me a bag of meat and said, take this to Mr. Jones. And we used to take it to Mr. Jones. When I came back, the door was open. There's Betsy on the table, and he was butchering her. And that was a reality check for me. I know we had goats before, and he would butcher them, and chickens, I've seen enough of them run around the yard without a head. But to see Betsy, that really traumatized me. It traumatized me so much that a few years later, I opened Greg's Steakhouse, and it was a steakhouse. So imagine that. I go from seeing Betsy being butchered to owning a steakhouse. It's kind of productive. All right, so I'm going to start, and we're going to talk about the soil. During my journey, I've learned so much about the soils and how important they are to all life on the earth. All life. Without the soils, there would be no life. They're the conduit. They're the conduit between above and below. And in this soil, it's so important that our lives depend on it. It's regenerative. A regenerative system is perfect. It's an ideal system where nature creates it. And if we take a deeper look into it, we'll find so many different levels that it will be a life you would spend your entire life learning all you can about it and still not know enough. In the soil, in a fertile soil, there are over 1 million species of life, different species, bacteria, fungi, microarthropods, macroarthropods, earthworms, churchworms, roly-polies, insects. They all live in what we call these trophic levels of the soil. We look at it and it looks like dirt, but there's a big difference between dirt and soil. Soil is a living organism, and it's created through a combination of many, many different things. There's your parent material. Usually it's a rock, sand, silt, or clay. All of those come from volcanic activity, and they bring from the core of the earth all the minerals. But these minerals are not in a form that living organisms can consume. They have to be converted into what they call a soluble form. And that takes bacteria and fungi. Our bodies and the earth, believe it or not, are made up of several different trophic levels. The bacteria, your body's 60% bacteria and fungi. So is the earth. 60% of this earth is bacteria and fungi. And together, they all work together where they create what they call soil life. So they play very important roles. Every single step, every single part of this biological life plays a very important role in soil fertility. You have the minerals which are in the soil, but you have to have the bacteria and fungi present and going through a process called mineralization that allows those minerals to become plant available. This is how it works. It's very simple. The plant underneath the leaves will have these tiny little eye-shaped orifices called stomata. And early in the morning, when the birds and the bees and all of the chickens, you hear them roostering and all of that, those frequencies cause those little stomata to open like an eye. When they open, they absorb elemental gases, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. What do we breathe out? Carbon dioxide. And it combines all of these gases in its leaves and all the veins you see, very much like our skin. All the veins is where all these gases are combined. When the sun rises, that positive charge is called a cation. That ion ignites these gases and converts them into glucose or sugar. This sugar is transferred through the stems through the leaves and the veins into the stem, and this plant makes so much sugar that it exudates over 50% of it into the soil. Right into the soil here, into what they call the rhizosphere. Okay? This is the phyllosphere, and this is the rhizosphere. And when it does that, it's sending signals in those chemicals, or that glucose, to the life that's in the soil. That's how when it exudates that sugar out through its roots, around the rhizosphere live bacteria and fungi. This bacteria and fungi consume this sugar. And in return, it mineralizes the rock, the sand, the silt, and the clay. So these little bacteria, imagine millions and millions of bacteria all around the root consuming this little sugar. We can't see them, but they're there. And what they're doing is they're secreting an enzyme from their single cell bodies. And believe it or not, every 20 minutes, the population doubles. Every 20 minutes. That population explosion attracts predators. The predators are the second class, or what we call the second trophic level, and that is your protozoas, your nematodes. They're microscopic organisms that we can't see with the naked eye either, but they play a very, very important role. They control the population explosion of the bacteria and fungi by consuming them. And in their consummation, what they're doing is they're releasing all of those minerals that the bacteria have sequestered from the rock, sand, silt, and clay, and they're releasing them around the root zone in a soluble form that the root can now suck up. That's called the mineralization process. In order for this to happen, you need to have bacteria. You need to have fungi in order for this to happen. And if you don't, then you have dirt. And you have dirt. So, what makes soil truly fertile? This is a combination of all things. Oxygen is one. Bacteria and fungi are definitely one. You also have microorganisms. You have your organic matter. Organic matter is very, very important. When a tree drops its leaves, the leaves fall on the ground. They fall on the surface. But if you leave those leaves in a short period of time, they will disappear. That is the biological process of mineralization taking place before your very eyes. They release by the bacteria and fungi that are on all surfaces, especially the decomposers, and Actinomyces, which is a species of bacteria that are responsible for decomposition. They are extracting all of the minerals from the leaves, the barks, the trees, the stumps, all of the debris, organic matter. Even if an animal passed away right under a tree, in a short time, the bacteria and fungi would decompose it, and they would deposit all of those minerals right back into the soil in the rhizosphere. Well, that's the other picture, but in the root zone, that now the roots can absorb it again. All of this is part of what we call a regenerative system. The system goes around in a circle. This earth is regenerative. Our bodies are regenerative. We replace our hair, our nails, our skin, very, very quickly. So this entire system is regenerative. Everything goes right back into itself and completes the circle. That is the foundation of a healthy soil. Organic matter is the foundation of a healthy soil because it creates the environment for life to thrive. Not just survive, but thrive. A rich soil, high in organic matter content, can certainly hold over 5 to 6 times the amount of water. You won't have erosion if you have a high organic matter content. It provides a habitat for all of those microbes to be able to thrive, and even the microarthropods and the macroarthropods, even the earthworms play a very critical role. They consume this organic matter, and their waste is what we call worm casting. That's another form of fertilization for the plant. So you see, the system has created itself to be I can't find the word, but the system itself has developed to a point where it needs no outside assistance, none whatsoever. At Food Forest, one of the things we do is we use organic matter extensively. It cuts out the use of all chemicals. We don't have to use any pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. It builds soil structure. These are benefits that in a small country like ours are critical. They're very critical. We import over 90% of our food today. We spend more than $300 million a year on food imports. And in my lifetime, I've seen it switch. I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have supermarkets. We didn't have the marketplace, or Piggly Wiggly, we used to call it. We had the little mom and pop stores. We had a vegetable cart that would come in our neighborhood every Thursday and you'd blow a whistle. And or whatever, and we would all run out. Our parents would give us some coins and here, go get vegetables. This is how we grew up. And in my era, every single home had a garden. Yes. Every home. So we had food security. We went from being food secure. In 1957 was the last time we exported food. But for over 200 years, we exported food all over the world. So we went from being food secure in my lifetime. I'm 60 years old, in my 60s, and we went from that to where we are today, where we are now completely, almost, and if we continue on this path, we will be completely food dependent in the next 20 years, because the average age of the local farmer now is 67 years old. There's no new talent coming in to replace them. We've taken over 3,500 acres in 1975. That was arable land. We've reduced it now down to just under 600. And of that, only 300 is actually farmed.
Wow, that's crazy.
We've turned every golf course on this island into, well, every farm into a golf course. Every public school was a farm. They built buildings on half the field, the other half is a playing field today. Urban development took up another 60% of that. So in just 50 years, we went from being secure to food insecure. And most people didn't even notice. The youngsters, they would never know what it was like to be food secure, to walk out in a field and sit under a grapefruit tree and peel them and eat as much as you could, where the food was abundant. Bananas, orange trees. Most people my age remember that's how we fed ourselves. We didn't have Oreos. We didn't have anything like that. We had fresh vegetables. But one thing we also didn't have was a high rate of diabetes, hypertension, autoimmune diseases that we see so prevalent today. We gave up our food security we thought that it would be in our best interest, because we could now get other jobs, and we could make more money and offer our children a better life. But we gave up the most important thing of all. And now we have it, it's to a critical point, in my opinion, where we're actually going to have, you'll see small little pockets controlling all of our food. The supermarkets are starting to buy up each other. Okay? They have full control over our food supply. If a civilization can't control its food, it's doomed. We're completely at the mercy of others. All right? So that's something that we really have to change. We have to change the mindset. First of all, we have to make farming sexy again. Okay? And at Food Forest, we do that. We do it quite well. We have 6 young individuals. All of them are under the age of 30. And what they're doing today is amazing. They service over 30 different restaurants island-wide. Some of the best meals on this island begin with food grown in our soil. We service 4 hotels island-wide. And our community partnership is solid. You know, we try to encourage every young person to get into farming. Our kids work from 8 to 12. That's it. They make a good wage. They only work half a day. That means for the rest of the day, they have the entire day to themselves. And they choose to do whatever they want. Some of them come to the Bermuda College, you see. Kazori, he's been with us for 2.5 years now, and he's now here enrolled in the Bermuda College, and he attends here as well. So, but he comes to the farm every morning from 8 to 12, and then he makes his schedule around that, you see. My son is also working with us in the farm. He's been there right from the very beginning, and he's deeply involved in learning the science of it. So, threats to soil fertility come in several ways. Tillage is one of my biggest concerns. You have an ecosystem that has all these different trophic levels, and then you put a tractor with blades all through it. What are you doing to the earthworm? Chopping them in half. What are you doing to the mycorrhizae network? You're breaking it all apart. the bacteria and the fungi get turned upside down. It's chaos. When that happens, the transfer of mineral process ceases. So farmers are forced to use inputs. Now they got to go spend money and buy fertilizer. And then they gotta, and then they load the fields with the fertilizers. And if they're inorganic, and I'm not saying that all farmers use the inorganic fertilizers, but if they're inorganic, they come with heavy salts. The salts burn the microbes and kill them all off. So now you have no mineralization process, and the plant struggles. When a plant is unhealthy, it tends to get sick. When it gets sick, it tends to get attacked by insects. So if you have plants and they're being attacked by insects, that means that the plant is not healthy. That means that the environment is not healthy. Okay? If the environment is healthy, mineralization process is taking place, and everything is working on those trophic levels, then that plant will grow healthy and strong, and it produces a compound called lipids. Lipids are fatty acids that these plants produce to protect themselves. The best way to describe it to you is, you ever drop water on a plant, and what does it do? Beads up and rolls off. Well, that fatty acids causes that water droplet to bead up and roll off. That also, when an insect comes and he wants to stick his little pincher in to try and suck out chlorophyll or whatever, he can't penetrate, so he quickly flies away. The biological systems that are in place, especially when it comes to fungal matter, the fungi, they protect. They are what they call the plant's immune system. So they provide a certain form, another form of protection. But you have to have the environment in place in order for that to happen. And it's really, for anyone who's a gardener, it's really three simple tricks that I use. You keep the soil loose. Don't turn it over. When you turn it over, you're gonna raise all those dormant seeds, and you're gonna have an explosion of weeds. Leave it. Just fork it. Put a fork in it and loosen it. Now, once it's loose, the roots are able to penetrate deep. They're not going to go sideways because the soil is loose. If you don't do that, the soil is compact, because most of our soils, let's face it, are clay. Our clay molecule is flat like this, and they lay on top of one another. So when it rains, it pounds them down, or when we walk on it, we squish them down, and it causes what we call compaction. Rain is the biggest cause of compaction. A droplet from 18,000 feet is going to hit pretty hard, and that compacts the soil. Now the root will go sideways because it can't penetrate. When it goes sideways, that sun rises, the top 2 inches of that soil get fried. They get 150, 160 degrees. That's way too hot. So the root now gets dehydrated and it dries up, and next thing you know, the plant struggles, it suffers. So keep the soil loose prevents that from happening. Now, organic matter right on top. We use compost. We have developed a compost formula so rich that when we apply it to clay soils, instead of those clay particles being flat, they now round up, they ball up, which causes soil structure. There's more oxygen flow in the soil. There's a lot more moisture retention in the soil, and that keeps the soil temperature at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler than soils that do not have a high organic matter content. So those are and then of course, keep it moist. 3 things: keep it loose, keep it covered, keep it moist. When you cover the soil, now when the sun hits, down here it stays nice and cool. Okay? It's protected from the sun. When you water this organic matter, because it is organic matter, it acts like a sponge, so it holds on to the water instead of the water pooling up and running off, causing erosion. This soil organic matter content protects the soil. Then also it provides a habitat for all of the living organisms that live in those trophic levels. You see? So keep the soil loose, keep it covered, and keep it moist. Another threat to soil fertility is pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. Imagine you have a system that depends on biology. It's a biological system, and you're trying to treat it with a chemical solution. Unfortunately, our medical profession follow the same procedure. We're organic. We are biological systems. In our gut biome is millions of bacteria that keep us operating and keep us healthy. When you treat this biological system with a chemical solution through pills, you're degrading the system. You're not encouraging the bacteria and fungi, you're decimating it. Instead of feeding the bacteria and fungi who produce the minerals for healing, we're doing the opposite thing. We're destroying it. We do the same thing in the soils. Many farmers, I'm not calling names, but many farmers, they use chemicals in their system that kills the soil. It kills the biological life in the soil. To find an earthworm in a commercial garden today is almost non-existent. When in an organic system, you can pick up 100 earthworms in a pitchfork. You see? So we're degrading the soils. And over time, it takes more and more inputs for that soil to even work. And then it comes to a point where the plant is like being in a hospital on a drip. It really does not have access to all this. A plant needs 16 minerals. It doesn't have access to these 16 minerals to be healthy. And then the whole system collapses. And then the farmer has to go back to the manufacturers and say, well, you know what? This year I'm really having a rough time. And so, well, try this. You need this, and you need that, and you need this. I've heard an agronomist, our local agronomists, tell us that where calcium is a problem in our soils, and it is. When you look at a soil report chart, it does show that there are some deficiencies, but adding more to it is not going to solve the problem. You have to create the environment to unlock that calcium. We are on bedrock. Our parent matter is limestone. There's more calcium in that limestone than the entire island can use in our gardens forever, for thousands of years. There's more calcium in it, but it's not in a form that is plant available. In order for that to happen, you need bacteria and fungi. They make it plant available. So sustainable soil management is really all about those three things I said. Keep the soil loose, keep the soil covered, and keep it moist. Okay? The plant plays a very, very important part. That is when they exudate their sugars out through their roots into the rhizosphere, they connect that bond between the subsoil, what we call the dark space, or below and above. They connect it. The plant is what connects it. And I know a lot of times we talk about climate change and how it has a huge effect on our climate. This is the way we solve that problem. This is how we contribute to resolving extreme climate changes by planting, by enriching our soils, by alternating our crop residues, by planting. Planting is so, so important because plants absorb carbon dioxide. They oxidize the oxygen and give it back to us. But that carbon molecule, they hang on to it and they sequester it in the earth. Okay? That's called carbon sequestration. if it's not sequestered in the earth, what happens to that carbon, that CO2? It rises up to our ozone level, causes greenhouse gases, and then we kind of all know the result of what happens there. Okay? So composting is very important. When we compost, we take all of the organic matter. When you have a landscaper come to your yard, he cuts your grass, he trims your hedges, what do? You pay him to take it to Marsh Folly, right? If you pile it up in your yard and you had a biomass, which is really 3 feet by 3 feet is the minimum you need, in 6 to 8 weeks, that will break down into rich organic compost. You can take this, put it around your fruit trees, put it on your garden, and use it in your pots and your plants, use it everywhere. You're now becoming sustainable and regenerative because you're taking this waste, what is now going to Marsh Folly and creating a mountain. You're now taking this waste and it's becoming productive. You're able to use it. And what's going to happen is the biology that lives in this compost will all filter into that soil profile and create a much more volatile mineralization process. That's the secret. When you add compost to your soils, you're saving the planet. You really are. You're sequestering carbon. It enriches the soil. It makes soil structure. That's what it's for. It's to build your soil structure. It holds more moisture, and it boosts fertility sustainably while cutting dependence on synthetic inputs. So at Food Forest, we don't use any of that because we don't need to. We use compost, okay? But planting the plant, even if, like sometimes in the summertime, it's so hot that farmers find it very difficult to grow food. So plant a cover crop. A cover crop is a crop that can take the heat, but at the same time, it can use the soil. A lot of the farmers I see here now are doing that. And I'm very proud to see that they're planting chickpeas, they're planting legumes, they're planting beans, because they can take the heat, but at the same time, they are sequestering that carbon and nitrogen into the soil, which is making it fertile. And then the next season, you can just chop it up and drop it and plant right in it. You're increasing your organic matter content. So here in Bermuda, we need to be sustainable. If we're going to really have a serious conversation about food security, sustainability has to be the foundation. And the only way we can be sustainable is if we stop bringing in Miracle-Gro. What's the other ones? There's so many different types now. You can go anywhere on this island and they have a plethora of different types of soil. Here we have a closed ecosystem. In Bermuda, it's unique. The soils here in Bermuda came from the Sahara Desert. And they're rich and fertile and very, very powerful. To bring in Miracle-Gro from Canada or ProMix from wherever, how does that help our ecosystem? If, for instance, something happened and one of those bales had a contaminated root-eating nematode, for instance, you can't see them. And that multiplies in our system. That could devastate our entire agricultural community. We've seen things like this happen before in the past with our orange and our citrus populations. Like I said, when I was a teenager, there was an abundance of grapefruits and oranges and all around Bermuda. You can go anywhere and pick them. That's how much it was. To today, where they're practically non-existent, just in private homes, in backyards. You don't see any big fields anymore of grapefruit trees. And our grapefruits and citruses, I remember as a little kid, every Christmas, what you got? A big basket? And it was full of fruits, bananas, grapefruits, oranges. peaches, everything. It was just, and it was all local. It was all local. We don't see that anymore. We don't see that anymore at all. So we're losing it. Well, I should say we've lost it. We've lost it. So to be sustainable is the way that we get it back. We have to invest in our soils. If we don't invest in our soils, there's going to be a lot more problems further on down the road. This is some produce that we grow at Food Forest. You want to know what this is? Isn't that beautiful? Look at it. There's no holes. There's no bugs. We're not eating it all up, right? It's beautiful, right? That's healthy. That's healthy food. Healthy food produces what we call flavonoids. Flavonoids are so critical. That's how minerals are transferred from the earth to our body through what we call flavonoids. So when you taste nutrient-dense food, the flavors are much more enhanced. That means that those flavors you're tasting are literally minerals. And those minerals are going right into your bloodstream and energizing your system. When we don't grow in a sustainable way and we use chemicals, remember that plant absorbs under its leaves. Tiny little holes of stomata. They absorb these chemicals. They become a part of the cellular structure of the plant. We eat those chemicals, and that chemical is designed, most of them are neurotoxins. They're designed to destroy the feeding systems of most insects that attack plants. And it sets their whole body imbalance, and they actually die from this pesticide. And then it's absorbed into the plant. We don't see it. And we eat that plant. It kills the bacteria and fungi in our gut biome as well, reducing our protection, both fungally and bacterially, and at the same time, stripping us of our immune system. Then we're now acceptable or susceptible to diseases. It all comes with the food. And we grow this food, and we're so proud of this. We call this food as medicine. Our logo is food as medicine because our food should be our medicine. What we're getting is our poisons. What we need is our medicine. And all illnesses, all sicknesses can be healed completely by the body because the body is regenerative. So what we have to do is feed the body nutrient-dense food, and the biology in our body will do what is necessary and fix our body, okay, and heal it because it will deal with the root cause rather than pharmaceuticals, but deal with the symptoms. Okay, so we really have to pay attention to what we eat and how we grow it. And here in Bermuda, it's very important that we do that. Here's some more pictures of some food from Food Forest that we grow. These are onions that we grew. And this is one of the crops, and I put this picture here because it's so important. This is one of the crops that we exported. In 1955, there were, oh God, I had this right in my head. There were 5,000 cases of Bermuda onions that shipped out of here. And each case was a bushel. You know how much a bushel is? A bushel is 60, 70 pounds. It's you know those little sack bags that they fill up with sweet potatoes and things like that? Well, that's a bushel. 5,000 of those left this island, destined for other parts of the world. It wasn't that long ago. But today, it's very difficult to sustain ourselves, let alone export. You see, and we really need to be. I believe that our government should take the farmers seriously, but they don't take the farmers seriously. The farmers have been struggling for years and years and years, and they work so hard to produce food for this island, and it's like they become second class. The farmers are the most important people of any community. Without farmers, your doctors, your lawyers, if they can't eat, they'll gladly give up their degrees for a piece of food. So farmers are a critical component in every community, every society. And unless we take farming serious and get back to it, I think it's going to just degrade worse. Degrade, go down a slippery slope. And at Food Forest, we are actively fighting against that. We're working with schools to teach kids where their food comes from. I mentor young adults to inspire the next generation of farmers, and we even provide hands-on opportunities for Bermuda's neurodivergent community, because sustainability is about land and people. Okay? So, there's some more bananas. These are little fig bananas. You know, for the first time, I've grown fig bananas. I've grown regular Cavendish bananas before, but I'm growing, for the last few years, I've been growing some fig bananas, and they've now become my favorite. They are absolutely wonderful. They're delicious, they're creamy, they're smooth, and these actually have little seeds in them too, you see? So there's two varieties that I grow, the fig and the boro, and they both have seeds. The boro's Central America. That's where that particular variety came from, but it's one of the original species. They crossed. A man by the name of Cavendish, a British man, he started to cross seeds and created this Cavendish that we have, that we see now, like the Chiquita bananas, the big long ones. You know, they really taste chalky. They're not sweet like a Bermuda. There's nothing like a Bermuda banana. Nothing can taste like a Bermuda banana. And it's the soil that produces that. Okay? So thank you very much for this opportunity. Some papaya. We're very into pawpaw, I should say. We're into pawpaw. Bermudians like pawpaw. But this is one of the most medicinal plants on earth. The leaves are medicinal. The skin is medicinal. The seeds are medicinal. The entire plant. All right. So thank you so much. You can reach us on Facebook or Instagram, or just pop into Food Forest. We're on Middle Road, Sandy's, right across from Maxi Mart. There's no signs. We don't put any signs to the road. But once you're there, you can see it. You'll find Food Forest. You'll find Food Forest. And in Food Forest, it's a totally different world. Totally different world. When you drive in, we had, who was there yesterday? We had a school come by yesterday. It's about 40 kids. And the first thing they did when they got off the bus, they said, they had never seen a 100-year-old avocado fruit tree standing right next to pawpaw and Suriname cherry and guava and sugar apple and locust and wild honey. You know, they had never seen tangerines. They were amazed to see how so much food can be grown in such a small area. I really believe that if we concentrate and commit, we could really take back 10% of our food security in the next 5 years. That's a $30 million investment that stays right here and nourishes our communities instead of being taken out overseas. All right? Thank you again very much.
Thank you very much indeed. You brought back a few memories again. Because when I came to Bermuda in 1971, or something like that, 72, and tasted a Bermuda orange.
Nothing like
Absolutely. And at one time, a Canadian person had come to teach at the school I was at, and she was eating a piece of fruit. And she was going, somebody told me these Bermuda oranges were really, really sweet. Well, this isn't really sweet. And we said, no, because that's a lemon.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it was amazing. And for us, we can get it back. If we get the political will, every school should have a thriving school garden that the children can gather the food from, prep it in the school kitchens and eat it or take it home. That would be so fundamental. I know Warwick's got a brilliant one going. but there's no reason every government school shouldn't have one of those. You need a dedicated person who should be paid appropriately. Sorry, I'm going off on a
No.
here.
I'm following you 100%.
To do that, because you can't expect the teachers who've got their hands full with everything
Right.
else, including, am I going to be here next year? Am I going to be down that end next year? Am I going to still have a job next year? No, if government is really serious about educating our young people, nurturing them properly, giving them perspective on life, feed them properly first.
Well, one of the
And Red
initiatives,
is doing that.
one of the initiatives that Food Forest has started is we are on the path of creating a agricultural educational center. We're starting off with compost. Fortunately enough, we won on the BBC Pitch It Wave of Opportunity pitch competition this week, and that comes with a $25,000 grant. We're using this grant to purchase compost making equipment, shifters, shredders, bagging machines, so that we can scale it up. That's bringing us so much closer to creating a school. What we're trying to do is take one of these schools that's closing and turn it into an agricultural center for learning, where we partner with schools where their students can come there. Very much like I was a participant in 1970 in the hospitality industry when we had a restaurant and kitchen at WorkSec. And I used to go to WorkSec every Thursday. And then until once I got a certain age, I went to Bermuda College. I want to create the same type of environment, but in agriculture.
Can you try and get the whole part? Is Gilbert Glasser? Then
Yes, yes.
Yes, I was in discussions. We have been in discussions with the Department of Works and Engineering. The Department of Works and Engineering, they actually are in control of all of the schools. But it's also Department of Education. There's two of them together. But I do know that Gilbert Institute is it's already repurposed for something. They've already earmarked it for something else. But there's other schools that are closed now. Karen Bay is closed. Somerset Primary is closing. There's a few others that's closing. All of those were originally farms. Okay? Now the infrastructure is in place for market garden farming. Market garden is perfect for Bermuda. It's small scale, high intensity farming, where we can produce over 10 times the amount of food as conventional monoculture. So creating a market garden is so much better, and especially when we use a regenerative system. So taking one of these schools, turning it into a market garden with using regenerative agriculture, we solve a lot of problems. We also provide opportunities for young people at elementary level, all the way through high school level, to learn a life skill. Something they can take with them forever, and they'll be able to do it regeneratively. They won't have to depend on Dr. Jacks or whoever they import to fertilize their food. So this is all part of Food Forest's plan, and we're just one step closer to reaching that goal.
That's fantastic.
Any questions?
Good afternoon. I have two questions. How often should we, I'm growing a lot in pots
Yes.
and just in a raised garden.
Mhm.
How often should we replace the compost? And should I add some lime, spinning rocks to my pots so they could get that lime?
Whenever you're growing in a container,
Mhm.
then there's things you must be concerned about. Circulation, air circulation is important. Also porosity, you don't want it to be too compact or tight. The unfortunate part about growing in a container is limited. It's limited to the minerals resources, and you can quickly extract the minerals, leaving the plant once it uses up most of those minerals. There's no way to replenish it.
Right.
You see, in nature, if you plant in the earth, the mycorrhizae fungi can go over here because the tree can't walk, so he's stuck, right? And his roots will only go out as far as his canopy. So if his canopy is 6 feet, his roots are 6 feet, right? Okay, but fortunately, they have the benefit of biology, and the mycorrhizae fungi send out these hyphae that can go they can go 30, 40, 50 feet. The largest mycorrhizae fungi system in the world is in the Great Forest of America, and it's 50 miles. So they really can travel and pick up nutrients, but in a container, you don't have that privilege. So you have to add organic matter constantly, and it will disappear. You can put it there, and then all of a sudden, where did it go?
Right.
That's the microbial life decomposing and transferring those minerals from that organic matter into the soil so that the roots can now have access to it. So more organic matter when it disappears.
So that could be often then.
Yes, yes, it could be often. But what you're doing when you're doing that is you're building soil structure. Now, when you water, you're watering it less frequently. Okay? Everything is just all around better for it.
Yeah, because they did buy compost from you.
Yes.
You side in the bag, but
Yeah.
it's disappearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should ask my wife.
No.
Her garden, she puts that stuff on her garden and it's like, what? Something came and swept it up. But that's all that's the abundance of life that is causing that. Okay? They're decomposing organic matter and putting those minerals right back in the soil. You got fruit trees in your backyard. The best thing you can do is put compost. Put a 2-inch layer of compost around the base, the drip line, what we call the drip line. So the trees this wide, don't go out further than here. And that's going to nourish those roots, and that plant is really going to thrive. Yes.
In the meanwhile, while we're developing our soil
Yeah.
to be healthy,
Mhm.
how do you handle white flies?
Whitefly is a result of an unhealthy soil. Well, an unhealthy plant, let's put it that way. When a plant takes minerals from the soil, it builds proteins. Those proteins are the foundation of cellular structure. But it also, there's 4 stages. The first stage is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the first, stage 1. That means you need to have loose soil, moist soil, and the sun. That kicks off the process. Once that plant starts to photosynthesize and produces sugars for the soil, it grows, then it starts to do it abundantly. When it does it abundantly, the second stage is protein photosynthesis. So it will photosynthesize the elements, gases, and sun. It will then photosynthesize the microbes will photosynthesize the proteins, which will cause the plant to grow. Now, once that growth spurt has happened, it starts to produce what they call lipids. The lipids are the fatty acids I was talking about earlier and because they are produced, the plant is producing such a healthy amount of lipids, it's now protecting itself. So the whiteflies will not be attracted. When that process doesn't happen properly, the plant can't convert those elemental gases, so it releases ammonia. Insects detect ammonia through their olfactory senses. Their noses, they smell. All those insects have antennae, those are their noses. They smell this ammonia, and because their digestive systems are different from ours, they zoom in on the ammonia. And they attack the plant because the plant's emitting ammonia. Fix the soil, that prevents that from happening, and then the whiteflies don't come.
Okay, so if I have white flies, cut it down.
If you have whiteflies now, you can control the whiteflies.
How?
I use sulfur.
So
Sulfur is a natural element, 100% organic, and you can get sulfur from any of the hardware stores. And it's a little yellow powder, little teaspoon and a gallon of water, shake it up, and take a spray bottle, and just spray underneath the leaves.
So,
Okay, sulfur.
and they're from the harvest.
You can get that from Aberfeldy or Green Thumb or Masters or Gorham's or sulfur. Sulfur, I highly recommend it. It's a natural element. I actually use it as a soil amendment. I put it in my soil.
So how much am I putting in?
Just a
gallon?
teaspoon.
Teaspoon.
Just a teaspoon. So, you know, a bag like that costs $20, but it will last you 10 years.
Oh, wow.
10 years. Because you only need a bit.
Okay.
And it's soluble, so it dissolves when you pour water into it, right? And then put it in one of them little squirt bottles. Pick up your leaf and squirt it.
Okay, all right.
And you can put that in, pots also?
Yes, I take the dried powder. This is my routine. If I'm prepping a bed, I use 30-inch bed, 30-inch wide and 50-foot or 100-foot long beds. And what I do is I take seaweed, same sargasso, I have a little grinder. We crush it all up fine, make a fine aggregate from it, and we take sulfur. We mix those two together, and we broadcast that in the soils. This is aiding. It's not really food for. Well, the seaweed is. It's food for microbial life, but it's more for improving soil structure. Okay. So it is, it's food for biological life that then produces enzymes that causes soil structure to happen.
And you still recommend, or would you recommend, horse manure, chicken manure, is that also?
All manures are perfect for the garden. For me, the best thing for manures is to compost them down. Thermophilic, meaning we're getting them hot. A hot thermophilic compost, it denatures any pathogens that may be present. It also kills off any seed. So you're not, you can make compost in those little tumblers, but that's static compost. You're gonna, whatever you put in there, if there's seeds, those seeds are gonna germinate and gonna infiltrate your garden. But if you get them hot, thermophilic, when I say thermophilic, 130 degrees for 3 days, that is going to kill off any fungal or bad guys, because you have good and bad. It's a balance. Remember, the entire planet has to have balance. But it's going to denature. If someone is, let's say somebody sprayed chemicals, this will denature. The composting process will denature all of that. Now you're left with a healthy, earthy, when you smell it, it's beautiful. And that is what it's going to prepare. Yes.
So how would you heat it? Like in the sun? Keep it in the sun or?
Biomass.
Oh, you have to, okay.
Biomass. Get, remember, 3 feet by 3 feet high, 3 feet wide is minimum. My piles are 6 feet, 8 feet high, and 10 feet long. You know, this morning when I drove into the farm, it looked amazing because the steam was just rising. You can see, you know, when you walk outside and you breathe when it's chilly, and you see that frost wall, this is coming from having a pile that's 10 feet long and 6 feet high. It was just breathing with this, you see, breathing with life. And that's not sun, not at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. That's not the sun, that's biology, the power of biology. Okay?
Are there any more questions?
I have one quick last one,
Yeah.
quick, like 2 seconds. So not all of us have the privilege of a big garden.
Right.
Or a pot.
Right.
So with this new venture with the agricultural school, would you have a community garden on site?
Government has set up several community
I know, but
gardens.
they're full.
They're all full.
They're not, they're
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. I remember when they started the initiative, I would go around to East Central Community Gardens and speak to all the members who had a plot at these gardens from Somerset all the way to St. George.
Yeah.
We will have an educational system in
Right.
place where people can come and learn
Right.
free of charge,
Oh, wow.
and they can learn gardening. And they will, through participation, they'll learn how to do things and what to do, so that they can now take this same knowledge and wherever they go. At home, if you don't have a garden, raised beds are perfect. They're perfect for growing. Pots are perfect for growing. I know a lady who has a porch, and her entire porch is nothing but pots. And she has several different tomatoes, everything growing there. And she walks on her patio and picks her herbs to cook with, or picks her vegetables. You see, so it's very easy to do. All right.
Thank you, Greg. A lot of food there for thought, indeed, excuse the pun. And could I also just give a quick plug for Bermuda College, which allows to use these facilities, which is really helpful and fantastic. And Amy, thank you. To Best, who helped with the promotion of these and also the environment. And remembering that the environment is not just the plant, it's the whole environment, which includes us, as Greg was talking about, the children, the adults being healthy, the whole environment, and also Chubb, who sponsors the food. If you didn't sign in, there are paper signing sheets, or there's our new electronic method outside that you can use as well, please. But many, many thanks, Greg. That was
Thank you.
absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, welcome to Brother Lane. We have a conference.
Oh, wow.